Deb here, your spiritual cheerleader and mentor. Welcome to Greater is Jesus in Me YouTube channel. And you know what to do. Subscribe now. And friends, today we have a special guest, my dear friend Niurka. Hey Niurka, how you doing?
Hi, Debbie. Pretty good. And yourself?
Ah, girl, hanging in there, hanging in there. So, friends, I'm just going to jump right into it. Today, we are going to be talking about being a parent of an autistic child. And you have an autistic son, right?
hmm
How old is he?
Buddy, or James, actually, his nickname is Buddy. Now, Bud, since he's older. Buddy's 19. Buddy's about a month and a half out of being 20. I can't believe it. I remember everything he did when I brought him home that first few hours. So almost 20.
I know. Wow, time flies. Time definitely flies. And so I'm glad you said that because I want us to start from the beginning. So, um, you were married, you got pregnant. How did you feel when you got the news of being pregnant, and how did you feel during your pregnancy?
I had a normal, what I guess we'll consider normal pregnancy. It was my first and only pregnancy.
Mhm.
I didn't have any other pregnancies or any other pregnancies. So, hey, when I got that news, I was overjoyed. I was overjoyed. I was excited. Actually, my sister and I were pregnant about the same time, and she was the one having the morning sickness and the throwing up and all the stuff. And I was like, "Oh, what's going on? I'm feeling fine." Even though I was in the age group that's considered high risk. I was
Right.
35.
Mm.
Both of us are about 35, 34, 35. So everything went well until the 34th week. And then I started going like 2 weeks prior to the when I had to 2 weeks prior to when I had to go into the hospital. I started doing these stress tests, and I think they were weekly. And I had the first two went pretty good. It was supposed to be tests that were done within 30 minutes, and the first two were okay. The third one, it's when I went in on my lunch break just with my purse and a book I was reading, what to expect while expecting. And I noticed the nurse kept getting some information from a machine right was hooked up next to me. I guess monitoring my son's vitals and she kept leaving and coming back. Now this is going on almost an hour, 45 minutes into an hour. So I finally asked her, what's the problem? I'm on my lunch break. I need to get back to work. And she was saying, well, I need the doctor to come over and talk to you. So I'm like, okay. So at that point, I'm starting to think, what's going on? What's you know? So anyway, doctor finally came over, and the first thing I said, hey, I'm on my lunch break. I need to get back to work. And he said, well, we will have you sign a release form stating that you are leaving um, under your own will
Mm.
against medical advice. And I was like, what? So pretty much, I realized there and then that my son, Bud, was in distress. There were some issues, and I was going to have to be admitted immediately into the hospital. You know, and that was a Thursday afternoon. My world flipped upside down because we were still thinking we had 6 weeks to work on this. Everything was still in boxes. All this, the room was empty, just boxes all around. And I was thinking, no, this can't be happening. But yeah, it did happen. And so the next 48 hours, they pumped me up with steroids in order to develop his lungs so he could be born.
Mm.
And he was born the afternoon of Sunday, March 20th, 2005.
Mhm.
So it's just unbelievable how things go from 1 minute you are thinking this way and feeling this one way, and then the
Right.
next second, life has given you a flip. You're in this new reality, and you got to face it and move forward.
Mhm. Mm.
So,
Okay, so now he's born, and how was that? How seeing him as a baby, his development? I'm trying to get to where did you start to see the
mm,
signs and
yes.
then the diagnosis and all of that?
So he started to, grow. He was the biggest baby when he was born at the time in the NICU. They were really, really tiny babies. He was born 5 pounds and 4 ounces approximately. So he only
Mhm.
lasted a week in the NICU. We were lucky, we were blessed that we were able to bring him home that quick. So I started a normal things of raising him. By the time he got to 1, he wasn't walking. Um, so my concerns started to grow right around a year and a half. I think at that point, we took him to the one of his visits to the pediatrician. We were advised to see a developmental pediatrician, right? So we started seeing the doctor. Um, I remember one time being at home and watching a news report about autism. So I don't know, for some reason, I just, was a little more interested when I heard it. And I brought it up in one of the visits to the doctor. Um, but I was told that boys usually develop slower. Well, no big deal. He'll be coming along. And now we're about his second birthday. And his second birthday, um, he
And he's
finally
still not walking?
he wasn't walking. He was
Mm.
moving around on his knees. So
Oh.
by his second birthday, my mom had come to visit, and I was taking some classes for my alternative certification. It was a Saturday, and I left my mom with him. And when I came home, she said, "Oh, he walked." So I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, I know he moves around on his knees. She's like, no, Buddy walked. And then when I realized he took off, there was a coffee table. No, the table in the middle of the room, the living room, and I saw he stood up and went across and fell on the sofa, and I almost passed out. I was like, oh my God. So anyway, with that, we got in touch with, by this time, the developmental pediatrician got us in touch with all these different early childhood intervention programs. So we got signed up for everything under the sun. And he had a physical therapist. He had, I think, a speech therapist, because he wasn't speaking as well. He wasn't speaking. Um, I think he began to develop a few words here and there. So I think he was speech therapist, OT, and somebody else. I can't remember. There were at least three coming in and out at certain times at the house. Now, fast forward, moving into approaching his third birthday. Um, I had a meeting with these therapists. The coordinator came over. They explained to me that at 3, since he was delayed, he could be admitted into the public school. They have a program that with kids started at 3 years old, and it's a 2-year program that try to put them up to speed so they can start a kindergarten, a kindergarten, like a regular kindergarten. So I was like, okay, that's awesome. But they had to do a report because their job was going to end there and the school would take over.
Mhm.
At this point, I think along the same time, the doctor was running some tests, right? He had not mentioned it yet, but he was almost 3 years old. But at that point, he ran some tests, and I have the meeting with the early childhood intervention coordinator. That's the first time she's summarized her findings and the findings of her colleagues, and they indicate that they suspect that it's autism. So again, that's the first time I'm hearing this, and I'm like, this is a blow. I was speechless. And she explained to me, because I had no background knowledge
Right.
besides what I'd heard on TV. I didn't really do a lot of research into it. Um, he has autism, and these are the characteristics and things like that. So anyway, we went ahead and got him enrolled in school. And I think it was a few weeks into after he turned 3 and he was admitted into the program, that the doctor calls me and confirms, yeah, that it is autism. So that's like
Mm,
a double whammy.
right.
This was in 2008.
Mm,
Um, right there and then, I knew my world was changing. I had to understand the situation, but I didn't have much time to grieve, and I just had to push forward.
right.
Um, at this point too, I had started working as a teacher, um, and trying to navigate this new world. I got uh, I got referrals to the different programs here in town. One of those is it's amazing. Any Baby Can of San Antonio. They have so many resources, so many classes, both for you and for your spouse, and just to let you understand and know that there's a community out there to help you to
Right.
navigate this, because it's difficult. It is difficult. So yeah, I just he started school. He had therapy at school, but also he I had him. He was enrolled in physical therapy. I mean, physical therapy, speech, and OT
Mhm.
privately through our insurance, the military insurance, and just started working with him. Of course, he had I understood clearly maybe a handful of words, maybe 10 words, but eventually, I think around 4 or 5, he regressed in that respect. He lost all his words. So officially, he is nonverbal. He just
Right.
makes
Mm.
gesture. He just
Make
makes
sounds.
sounds and
Mm-hmm.
grunts
Mm-hmm.
in order
Mm-hmm.
to communicate. So at one point, thanks to one of his first speech therapists, we were able to get an iPad through the state. I think there was a
Mm.
program, I can't remember exactly the name, but his first iPad, I think he got it in 2008, somewhere in there, 2008, 2009. And since then, he has been using communication programs. There's an iPad, and he communicates his needs and wants through this program. The one he's
What?
using right now is amazing. It's called Protocol to Go.
Mm.
You can download it through the Apple Store,
Mm.
and it's amazing. I mean, it works with the PIC system. It's called a picture system.
Right.
So he formulates his sentences by pressing each button, phrases, sentences. But it's his way of communicating
Mm-hmm. What age
with
was
us.
that he started to use the iPad?
Um, no, I think 2000, either between
What grade was he
2008.
in
He
school?
was I'm thinking 2008. He's probably, I think it was more like third or fourth grade.
Okay.
He started to use an iPad. So that's around 9. Um, maybe fast forward, maybe probably 2013, 2014, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
He started to use an iPad. And many iPads later, that's still the program that he uses.
Right.
At his level, the development has been slow. Buddy is a smart boy.
Mhm.
He has a lot more internal,
Right.
is expressive. Of course, he has to use the iPad, but his receptive is very, very high. And some kids develop language delayed, up to 10, 11 years old, and
Mm.
others, a smaller percentage, don't develop it. And Buddy was one of those.
Right.
So
And but
it's uh
and two, he's been in school. That's one thing.
Oh
He
yeah,
and
yeah.
he
He
graduated out of high school also. So tell us about that experience and uh, his experience and your experience, because I know there were some challenges with the
uh
school and all that stuff.
yes. Yes, being a single mom is not
Yes, and
along the
let's get to
line.
that. You became a single mom.
Yes, I
You
became
got
a single
divorced and became
mom.
a single mom of an autistic. child. Yeah.
Yes.
And raising
Well,
him really by yourself.
mhm. The percentage of couples that stay together with kids, especially kids with special needs, it's very low.
Right.
I commend the ones that can work out their differences and look beyond their differences and work for the good of their child.
Yes, yes.
I whenever I see, you know, a dad, especially a dad, I really my hat goes off because I know what it takes. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice.
And
Yeah,
patience.
and
Hmm.
patience. Unfortunately, things didn't work out between his dad and I. I had to make the decision that I needed to move forward and continue pushing and advocating for my son. It was not easy throughout high school. We had a lot of behaviors because of him being nonverbal. So I was lucky to find throughout high school, went for elementary, the last 3 years, third, fourth, and fifth. That was right around ninth grade. It was right around when third grade, sorry, was right around the time I got divorced. So I struggled at end of that year with the logistics of getting
Mm-hmm.
to school and from school. I
Mm-hmm.
depended on friends, friends I made at the gym. They became his caregivers. Actually, two girls, two ladies. One would pick him up Tuesday, Thursdays. The other one did Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It was always connecting, having this logistics in place. And so I decided third through fifth, uh, he went to school with me. I was blessed that the special needs department, the special ed department, there was a unit over there. So it was good. It was a blessing, but also sometimes could be a curse because I knew what was going on. Sometimes
Right.
I would hear his voice. I'm in one um, aisle, one over one aisle, and I can hear him either yelling or they're taking him somewhere. And I'm, oops, there it goes, buddy. So it worked out because I knew where it was at. We were moving at the same time, and he was coming home with me. When he got
Right.
to middle school, things changed. I had to change district, bring him back over here. And that was when it got tough because again, depending on the support of strangers, I had to hire people, and sometimes we see people's use. They know the need the need you have, and some people, unfortunately, you don't see their hearts. They see this as a business and a way of getting ahead, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily being here for the benefit of the child.
Mm-hmm.
So being a person that I consider having a very good heart, very naive, and then navigating this new world, it's easy for you to see people and think, oh wow, I found this the right person to help me out. Not to know that maybe within a couple of weeks you realize that this was a mistake. This
Mm-hmm.
was a mistake, and the interest of your child is it's not most.
Right.
So I had a lot of that through high school, to to middle school, high school. Then he came the point that in 2019 because I've always been involved with Any Baby Can, and then I got him signed up for all these different services that here in Texas you have to get on the list from being a baby, from being diagnosed. Let's say 3 years old, you got to get on these lists because they're not going to come. His name is not going to come up till maybe 18 or more.
Mm.
So, um, because I got directed through Any Baby Can to the right agencies, the right offices, I was able to get him on these lists. He was on like 3 or 4 lists at the same time. And there's another organization here called ACOG, Alamo Area Council of Government. They help people. They have programs that help people with disabilities. So I was assigned a case coordinator, and this case coordinator will come into the house every so often, and they realized my need trying to do this all by
Right.
myself. Thanks to one of those case coordinators, because you have case coordinators and case coordinators. One of these case coordinators, she pushed the paperwork forward for me to get one of the programs that he was on the list for, but he was able to get it earlier, which is called ACS, Home Community Services. um, it's called a waiver. So with this program, he getting it in the summer of 2019. That made a difference in the sense that I wasn't paying everything out of pocket, because before everything was coming out of my pocket, the child care,
Mhm.
the finding someone to watch him, everything was out of my pocket. So with this program, I was allotted. There's a budget, and this case coordinator monitored. I was assigned an agency that manages the program for me, and I was able to get help in the house, and make things a little bit easier. Also, I could aspire to respite, which is just
I know.
having maybe a weekend for myself, right? Which I was able to once a month schedule respite, which was a challenge because behavior, even though you have the respite, and if the behavior is not there, it may not happen. Or you may
Right.
take him. I may take him. I would take him sometimes, and I was gone maybe an hour or two, and they're like, "Oh, he's not behaving appropriately, so I need to go pick him up." So even though some of the services were there, and then the agency would have one of the employees come in. Since I continue working throughout this time. I
I
have to be at work
know.
at 7:30 in the morning, and especially when he started high school an hour later. So having someone to come in the mornings and relieve me so I could get to work, and it was a challenge because again, I will be talking to this agency. The person will say, "Yes, I'm sending XYZ over," and sometimes XYZ would not show up. And it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. And where is this person? So a lot of anxiety, a lot of anxiety. I develop anxiety in the mornings. I mean, every morning I will be, is this person going to show up or not? So, and it's a matter of finding the right agency. So, the pandemic hit. So everything came to a halt. Everybody was home. Most of the people were home. I was home as a teacher doing remote. And after the
And
pandemic,
one of the things I want to point out, you are doing all this on a teacher's salary. All that
exactly.
out-of-pocket expenses that you were talking about for your son, um,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
you're on a teacher's salary. So,
Exactly. So fast forward after the pandemic, I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because you have to navigate the system in the sense that, well, there are many agencies, but the thing is to find the right one. And when
right.
you don't have that experience, it's hard. You may make a few mistakes until you find the right one. So the first one, I had to move on. I was, folks not showing up, or he's entitled to whatever service. I'm not getting it through them, et cetera, et cetera. So just 3 years ago, I think it was, I moved on to another agency, and it was a little bit better. It was also better because one of my friends that I told you earlier that was helping me out when he was to finish up his second grade. I recently got divorced, she came back into the picture. Luckily, after COVID, she remained working remote, because she used
Mm,
to go into work, but she remained working remote. So this worked out for her as an extra income. She was able to she went into work for, I think, 7 to 3 or something like that, and then at a little bit after 4, she was free and was able to come over to my house. She lives like 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from me. Come over to my house and wait for the bus to arrive. With her doing that the last 2 years of Buddy being in high school, all my anxiety went down. I mean, I could breathe again. I didn't have to worry about the bus. I've been making copies in the teacher's workroom, and looking down at my phone and getting a call from the transportation that your son is at the house and no one is there. So
mhm,
working with that new agency, having my friend as his caregiver
mm,
made a whole world of difference. So
mm.
it's navigating and asking and trying to just find the right people.
Your
to
mind
make your life.
always going. There's never a dull moment because you always have to be thinking ahead. And as you say, organizing the logistics, the this, the that, and then you work full time as a teacher.
Yes,
And as a teacher, you work your hours and then you work hours after your hours. So
exactly.
mm,
Exactly. So there's no socializing, or the social time is very minimum.
yeah.
There's no going on trips and things like that.
But
You know,
talking
the
about trips, and that's one of the things I wanted to bring up because I have I know the whole story and everything, and I always tell you I commend you because I always say, Buddy is really blessed to have a mom like you because
oh, thank
you
you.
are a go-getter. You make sure you stay on top of things. You're always looking out for things for him, his best interest. I mean, you just never stop. And one of the things is some people, and I know back in the day, people used to do that. If they have a child with certain, you know, with a certain condition, they would want to keep that child in the house and hide them and don't take them out. But that was never you. You always took Buddy out. You travel with him, you go out with him to different places, and talk about that experience.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy because again, autism it's a neurological condition, and every kid is different, and
Yeah.
Buddy gets overstimulated when he is around a lot of people.
Hmm.
He gets upset, and that can get very hard fast. So I kind of monitor where I take him. For example, going to the grocery store, he enjoys going to Walmart because he goes into Walmart. The first place he's hitting is the fruits area. So he picks up an apple, and I know I have to go behind him and put one in the basket so I can pay for it. And but he loves to go and run around, and I'm like, buddy, you can't do that. The people are walking, you may run into someone. And most people, I have to say, throughout having Buddy, have been very understanding and accommodating.
Hmm.
um I only can think of one incident, one person, because he has his little things.
Yes.
And one time we were in Walmart, and he came. One time his thing was to be tapping on people, touching people, and he walked up to this guy. Sometimes I'm trying to catch him in every move, and sometimes it's impossible, especially as he got older. And this guy turned around, ready to fight type thing, and I had to intervene and say, "Hey, my son is autistic." Uh, so, and it's still some people still don't know, even though it's more prevalent. I mean, every time I turn around, I hear something about autism. Not so much 20 years ago, but
Right.
you always have to be aware of your surroundings. You always have to be aware. As I said, people are nice, but they don't measure danger. A lot of them, most of them, don't measure danger. Um, or one time we were getting ready to leave the house, and he
Mm.
I raised the garage door. Normal day. I mean, I never thought of it. We always walk out. He walks out in front of me and goes around into the passenger side. And that day he decided to bolt into the street.
Mm.
And a neighbor was coming up with a very large SUV. And I saw my life, pass. It was scary. So you have to know where to go. As you mentioned, I've taken him back home to Panama. It's from the time I know I'm going, my level of anxiety and stress grows,
Mm.
because with the way things are now, it's very difficult. And no one is, it's not nobody's going to take the time to differentiate when someone starts to behave in a certain way. Oh, this person is autistic, or this person is having a mental crisis, or this person is not. They're going to be subdued. And that was my worries, and it's still a worry. When we traveled last summer, it went well, but I always try to take precautions, like buying extra leg room, and just preparing, going to the doctor, maybe getting something to sedate him. just enough for him to be able to function, to get through uh, immigration, custom, whatever, and get where we're going. And of course, then when we get home, it's in a totally new environment for
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's limiting in the sense that I cannot go certain areas because he's not used to. One thing that kids on the spectrum like is routine, and that's out the window. And life, just being a single mom, routine sometimes is the exception. I can't do
Exactly.
what you want me to do every day. So it's a lot of challenges just trying to cope and go about doing things day to day with a child
And
on a special needs.
some people are more understanding when is a small child a toddler, but when is a teenager and a young man, because and he's six what?
He's 6 now. Well, they finally said he was 6 last year when he went to the doctor.
Yeah, he's a tall young man. So the understanding sometimes, depending on, some people might recognize it and say, okay, let me understand what's going on. But he's a young man now, so I understand what you mean. The anxiety and preparing yourself mentally, because you have to prepare yourself mentally whenever you are making these trips and stuff like that, going out with him.
Yes, take a lot of pre-planning. I just can't say, oops, I want to go to the mall. He
Mm-hmm.
used to love going to the mall, but now it's like, okay, you go to the mall and then he starts. And sometimes he wants my attention, even though he's my only child. He feels that a good way of getting my attention is to start to yell, and he's doing things like he wants to run away from me and he's looking back to see, just like a child, because also his cognitive abilities, is his years, on this earth, and then also his cognitive abilities are two different things. Buddy is almost 20, but he operates at the level of maybe a 5 to 6 year old. So things
Mm.
that a 4 or 5 year old would do to get your attention, this is what he's doing
Mm.
in a man's body.
Yeah.
So what is,
Wow.
as you said, what would have been funny when he's 3 years old and look cute? Not anymore. You
Yes.
maybe you he may be trying to get my attention and pulling on me or something. A security guard or someone else sees that and thinks, hey, this person is hidden. And I've had an incident like that already when it was very traumatic for me because, it was actually, he was in the care of a therapist that she said, oh, you know what? I want to try taking him out in the community. She used to work with him in one of the swimming programs he attended. And she said, I do outreach out in the community activities. And one time they said, okay, he came and picked him up, took him over to a park. But what happened, again, as I said, these kids are routine based. She took him to the park, but she didn't go to the section where the swings. He loves to swing, where the
Mm-hmm.
swings are. So she goes through the opposite entrance. He doesn't see the swings. That's going to cause issues. So he got upset and started, fussing with her and maybe hitting on her. Someone saw that and thought it was a couple because they're seeing
Oh,
his height, and this lady
right.
is a younger lady. So called the police. And
Wow.
she calls me. At this point, she didn't know. She just knew you had gotten aggravated. So she said, they were gone for like 20 minutes, if that much. I was just thinking, okay, I think now I'm going to go to Walmart. That was supposed to be my respite time. It lasted maybe 20 minutes. She called and said, I think he's upset. I don't quite know why. I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I said, okay, there we go. It didn't work out. It was the first time giving it a try. By the time I'm like 5 minutes up the road, I was at a stoplight. She tells me, the police is there. My heart sank. I'm like, why? Again, as I said, someone saw the situation and called. Got there. They had restrained him, uh, and I was like, this, no, my child is autistic, and then there's like, oh, well, this was what's happening. And it was just traumatic, to say
Mm.
the least. That was the end of any outings with her. And she apologized. She said, I am so sorry. Because, I mean, this is her business. She knows that the person, I mean, trying to, be proactive,
Right.
it turned out into another situation again because he's an adult. It's just I got to be careful where I go with him.
Right,
I
right.
got to be
Mm,
careful.
mm. And one of the things I wanted to point out, I know that you have had uh, to navigate and do all this by yourself again as a single mom, and you don't have family there. And but thank God, God has really put people around you to help you in different situations through this all these years, and that is definitely a blessing because, as you say, you have friends, neighbors, strangers have come to your aid to help you and have that patience to deal with buddy because not everybody can
Hmm.
deal with a child with autism, and God has really surrounded you with people, and even you finding the right places for him to go.
Yes, and now that he finished school and I had to make that hard decision last summer to transition him into a group home, which is another world and which I'm
Mm-hmm.
still learning. It's been 5 months, and you learn that, of course, your child is one more off
Mm-hmm.
individuals that are there, that what you are providing may not be it's probably it's not going to be just solely for him. He's
Mm-hmm.
not at home anymore,
Right.
so yes, they're going to do the basic, they're going to do what they to keep him healthy and functioning, I guess, but it's not going to be over, protective or making sure everything that he ever wanted, it's gonna be there.
Right.
So that's another, set of issues I'm dealing with right now, and navigating it day by day. And sometimes it's very frustrating. I feel sometimes helpless.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I keep advocating for him, even though he's there. I am
Thank God for
advocating.
that.
And sometimes it's like, okay, it's like reality check. Uh, we understand what you're saying, but this is our rules. So
Mhm.
where to find the happy medium? So that's where I'm at right now with
Yeah,
that
and I know
situation.
this
But
was an emotional transition for you
uh,
making that decision, but but as you said, overall, the big picture, he's being taken care of, he's close, you are right there as an advocate, keeping an eye on everything, making sure things are being done and things like that. So,
exactly. And yeah,
mm-mm-mm.
and friends. As you know, my dad passed away just a month
Right,
ago, and there was no way I could take him with me. This
right.
trip was to business. I had to get down there, help out my siblings, and just maneuvering and navigating being home with him. As I said before, it sometimes is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
When I went in the summer, I pretty much stayed home, and whenever we went out, it was just he and I to do to certain places, or my sister taking us here or there. So I had to rely on friends again. I had my one friend that took care of him the last 2 years. She went out there. She checked him out for me. Another friend took goodies during, so it was the end of the year, so she took out goodies for him. Another friend took him to have ice cream, picked him up and took him to have ice cream. And another friend cooked, even though she doesn't drive on
Right.
highways, she cooked and she sent the food with my friend that
Mm.
took care of him.
God
So
is
I have
good.
a network.
Yes, yes, you have to have a network, and as they say, it takes a village to raise a child, but you have had good people around you, surrounded with good people around you, both on a personal level and professionally, to really help you with raising your son. Now, I want to know, why did you decide to share this now, share your experience with your son?
Yes, because I think I have something to say. I know I'm just one in a drop in the ocean, but being single, I
Mm-hmm.
think that adds a different layer to it. Also, being a full-time teacher, because anybody that is a teacher know that profession is very hard. It's very demanding, time consuming, because you are working hard to get these kids at a certain level, to grow in life. So it takes a lot. So I sometimes I sit back and think about, just doing both. How did I do it? Even now that Buddy's been gone a couple of months, I see him during the week and I pick him up on the weekend, most weekends. But I sit back and think, how in the world did I do this? How did I pull this one out? Even though I know I have some support and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's me.
Yes.
So
That
I have been
mental
thinking,
strength, that mental strength, that physical strength, that emotional strength, even though I know you're human and you have had your moments, but I'm telling you, you are a strong woman. You are a smart woman. You're a woman filled with wisdom. I know it. Look, folks, I know this woman
thank you.
and I know her journey, and she is just amazing. I'm telling you,
Mm.
you're amazing. And I know that God has been with you, and God is the one that has given you all that strength, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, for you to keep doing, going, and doing for your son.
Yes, and I add to that my mother. My mother was a
Oh,
quiet
yes,
but
when your mom was
strong,
alive. I know.
perseverant,
Yes. Yes, you got that from
persevering.
your mom.
No, if I have done the smallest portion of what she did, she always was in my corner. She was always in my corner and she always was supportive. I would get that call probably daily saying, don't worry, buddy will be okay. And that's what I miss most of her being gone. She was always trying, like every mom, trying to be in your corner and
Right.
support you to move things along. And then, of course, my sister, she's been
Mm-hmm.
instrumental. You're my sister pretty much. Just so I've had a couple of people that have been there to listen. When, yeah, definitely I've had my moments that I think, what am I doing here? What is this about? But at the end of the day, I have to think, buddy, it's a blessing. And I guess I have people say, well, God gives people, they don't give people something
Don't
that
give
they
you
can't
more
handle,
than you can
more than you can
handle.
handle. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm like, okay, I think it's enough now. I think it's enough now. And I look back, as I'm telling you, now I'm in a reflective stage of my life. I guess I'm looking back and I'm thinking, well, if you were to have someone with a disability, why wouldn't you would be the perfect, be talking to myself, you would be definitely the person to have as a mom, you
Yes.
know? So,
Yes, that is so right. Mm-hmm.
mhm.
You are
Yeah,
the perfect person.
and as we've been talking, I am starting to take some notes. I'm working
Mm-hmm.
on an outline because I really feel that if I want to write a book about my journey, and
Right.
I'm thinking it may help one or two people just to
Hey,
read and
even if
understand
it
that.
helps one person, it makes a difference. It makes a
Yeah.
difference.
So,
Oh,
um, and anybody that I can, the other day I met I take my son to the barber, and his barber I cherish. When I go home, I bring sazonador. He likes those things because he likes to cook. So whatever I can give him to keep him there, because Buddy's been going there for 10 years or 10
wow.
plus, and it's not easy, because he moves and he's stuck there with me, and so I met one of his clients. His son, they were going through some things too at school. He has a different disability, but at the end of the day, the process is the same.
Right.
So I was telling him, this you should try this or do this. So I'm like, well, at least I can advise someone
Right.
about who's just starting out, who maybe had just received the diagnosis and
Exactly.
don't know what to do. You feel like
Yes.
the air has been sucked out of your body. Okay, so after that moment, okay, these are things you should consider moving forward. So that's what I think I want to do.
Mhm. That's wonderful. And the thing is to let others know they are not alone.
Exactly.
Because sometimes when you're faced with these situations, you think, hey, why me, only me, this and that, me, but you have to understand and know that you are not alone. Number one, God
Mm-hmm.
is with you, but then God is going to surround you with other people, and then there are other people that are going through the same thing too. And as you say, when it first happens, you don't know what to do, and if you can reach out to somebody that been there,
Mm-hmm.
and you can share your lessons learned, and you don't have to go through things by yourself and figure everything out by yourself, and you somebody you can tap into and that can relate to you, because there's nothing to me more meaningful than being with somebody that's been there and can relate to you. Yes, I can talk to you and give you support, but if I'm not experiencing or have experienced what you have experienced, sometimes I fall maybe a little short. But if there's
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's been there, then that right there is a
Exactly.
blessing. That's a
Yes,
blessing.
and I have a couple of friends. We have remained friends since we met at Any Baby Can, and or one of the other programs. Because he used to go. I used to have respite also through Any Baby Can on the weekends. So a couple hours on Friday evenings, and a couple hours on Saturday. So I made good friends that we still keep in touch, and at different levels of their situations may have changed a little. Some of their kids still live at home. I think I'm the only one that had to decide because they're married. But sometimes being married doesn't necessarily mean that you have that support. And what I
Right.
see too with my friends is that sometimes the husband they get buried into their work, their jobs, or they find ways, you know, not to be around in the house, their way of coping with the situation, right?
Mhm.
But so and then I see what's going on, and sometimes I wonder what is better, or to be with someone or to just do what you had to do and move
Right.
on,
Right.
because not
The thing is,
necessarily being in the house,
right.
it means that there's help, there's support for that child.
Mhm. Exactly. And the thing is, whether you're single or you're a parent, you have to make the best of whatever your situation is, because
Mhm.
every situation has its challenges. So you just have to make the best of whatever your status and situation is to deal with whatever you're facing. So, mm.
Mhm.
So Niurka, any last words for our friends that are watching? And I'm going to ask friends, if you have a child that has any type of condition, whether it's autism, ADHD, there's so many things out there. If you know someone that has a child with any of these conditions, please forward this video to them. This will encourage them and let them know they're not by themselves. And Niurka has given some very good tips. I mean, she has spoken from the heart, from her experiences, her journey. So please pass this on. Don't keep it to yourself, pass it on. So, Niurka, what would you like to tell our friends?
Yes, definitely. I know it's a blow when you hear the news, but you don't go into denial. Being a teacher and a mom, I see, students come all the way to second grade undiagnosed, and
Mm,
at this time of day and age, and that's unexcusable. Because I know it's something it's heart wrenching, but we have to recognize that something is going on and go to the pediatrician and get the necessary referral to get things going. Because as the earlier you start, the better. The
mm,
earlier the intervention, the better. Yes, for some kids, it's gonna mean that they're gonna get in there and they're gonna blossom. Other kids, just like I know in education, it takes longer, or it may not grow as fast. Or this is as far as I can make it. But the thing is to get to realize, acknowledge there's a situation, there's a condition, and let's tackle it. Let's see what we
mm,
can do to help our child to move forward. And every child is special. I tell my students, when sometimes when they see the special ed, the units, the kids walking down the hallway, they decide they they get apprehensive, or they're kind of like moving us, want to like move further away. I'm like, no, 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 guys, listen, these are kids just like you,
Yes.
just like anybody else, but they learn differently. But
Mhm.
they're learning the same thing you are, but maybe modified. That doesn't take away them being kids just like you. So you embrace them, because you never know. Like in my
Yeah.
life, I mean, that I can recall, no one in my family had a disability. So me having Buddy has opened my eyes that you need to
Mhm.
have a lot of empathy.
Yes,
Don't
empathy. Ooh.
reject it's a human, it's a natural thing. Oh well, they're different. But
Mhm.
yeah, they're different, but they're human beings and they have feelings just like you and I. So embrace them, because you never know when you're going to be in that situation to have to handle or to work with a child, or to love a child that has a
Mhm.
disability.
That's
So
key right there. Empathy and love. Loving each other with our differences, just love and
mhm.
be patient. Mm. Well, Niurka, thank you so much. You have given us so much information. You have enlightened us. And, I thank God for you. I thank God for you.
Thank
You are
you.
just a beautiful person inside out. And I'm telling you, folks, this woman is amazing. And I can't wait for your book. When you
Thank
when you
you.
write that book, I'm gonna be all over you because um helping you through that journey of getting your book together, and I'm so excited about it. And once you get that book, you coming back here and we're gonna be talking, even though we'll be talking even before that. But I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, thank you so much. And as I said, I hope it helps someone.
Yes, it will.
Um,
It
but
will.
what we discussed today. So
Yeah. Yep. So thank you again, Niurka. And friends, remember to go to Greater is Jesus in Me YouTube channel. And you know what to do. Subscribe now. Be blessed. And until next time.